There is a process in place. I invited submissions so that it could be open, transparent and impartial. And the closing date for those submissions is close of business today. Now, pending on the vote on the order of business, we may or may not resume on the 5th of February, but I intend to deal with it expeditiously. It doesn't mean that I won't be dealing with it on... Excuse me, Deputy. Deputy, I have said I have not yet.
Could you just put a date on it? It is relatively simple. It should not be a big ask, Ceann Comhairle. Can you put a date on it, please?
And the answer, and the very... Sorry, excuse me, no, excuse me, members. There is no point of order. I just, in order. In a minute, Deputy, resume your seat. If Deputy Boyd-Barrett is to speak, I would just ask, rather than actually shouting at me and jumping out of your seat, I'm prepared to hear you, but the reality of a date in this regard is I cannot, because I have not yet received all the submissions. Now, excuse me, Deputy Boyd-Barrett.
The OPLA's advice and the legal advice you were given, and you committed to doing that. Can you tell us when the Opposition and the Business Committee will see the legal advice that led you to make your provisional decision?
As soon as I have received all the submissions and had a chance. There is a process to be undertaken. There is that process. Excuse me. That process won't even begin until the close of business this evening, when all submissions are received. Thank you, Deputy.
Ceann Comhairle, I see here there's a massive conflict of interest, and I have done this in a submission from Independent Ireland in the conflict of interest. The Regional Independents nominated you as Ceann Comhairle, and I believe the conflict, if this was any court of this land, a judge would not be allowed to preside over a family case, would they? So in this case, I would ask that the Ceann Comhairle, not taking into the Ceann Comhairle's character, I'm not taking into the Ceann Comhairle's character, but in the interest of fairness and the protection of the Ceann Comhairle, they should have to step aside and let somebody else deal with this issue,
Deputy,
not taking the character.
Everybody. Thank you, members. Everybody in the House. No, Deputy, you've had.
35(3), I'm entitled to propose an amendment to this order of business.
Well,
so
on that basis, Deputy,
I'm proposing that we suspend the Dáil and convene an urgent meeting of the Business Committee to deal with the outrageous proposition that we don't return next week in this Dáil, with the outrageous proposition that 39 TDs in Sinn Féin will be allocated 10 minutes, the same as your government group in opposition. I mean, Michael Lowry is a member of the opposition.
Deputy.
Michael Lowry, who stood outside this building and said, Deputy, we will support the government in the good days and the bad. Of all 7 of them, he's a member of the opposition. For God's sake, Deputy, you're making a mockery of democracy here. And Taoiseach to come and Taoiseach right now. You know, you designed this situation today. You have it in your power to resolve this issue. They should have speaking rights from the government side. Deputy, that's where they belong. So I'm proposing we suspend the Dáil now. That's my proposal.
Deputy Carty, you're out of order. Please resume your seat. Please, allow me. Deputy Carty. Deputy Carty. Deputy, resume your seat. Resume. I'm afraid. Deputy. This is a test of you, Ceann Comhairle. I'm so sorry you're failing. Deputy, I have. Deputy, I'm going to give you one opportunity. I will have to suspend the House. I'm afraid. Resume your seat. If we're going to be left. Yeah. Thank you. We will suspend. Deputy, please resume your seat. Resume your seats. I am going to be left with no option, Deputy. I will be left with no option. We suspend the House. I suspend the House for 15 minutes. Now, as you will all be aware, we have entered a process. And I have given an undertaking to the members, categorically, to deal with that process expeditiously. And expeditiously means before the 5th of February on a resumption of Dáil. I am now going to put the question. And the question I will now put, deputies who are in favour of
Point of order.
say tall.
Ceann Comhairle, what about the legal advice? What about the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle? When will we get the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle?
Not carried. Not carried.
What about the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle?
Point of order.
Ceann Comhairle, when will we get the legal advice? When will we get the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle?
We now move to the next business, which is the nomination.
Ceann Comhairle, when will we get the legal advice? Ceann Comhairle, when will we get the legal advice? When will we get the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle? Ceann Comhairle, when will we get the legal advice? Ceann Comhairle.
There
must be fair, Miss Dáil. We are not going to take 5 years of being pushed down and unfairness. I'm asking for a standing order.
Resume your seats. The question has...
Point of order, Ceann Comhairle. Ceann Comhairle, when are we getting the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle? Tell us when we're getting the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle. There is no good reason not to give us the OPLA legal advice now. Tell us when we'll get the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle. We need to get the legal advice, Ceann Comhairle.
You can suspend the House again if you can't resume.
We need to get the legal advice, Ceann
Suspend the
Comhairle.
House for 30 minutes. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputies, and I now call on the Chief Whip to make a brief statement, please.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. Ceann Comhairle, today as members of Dáil Éireann, we are all here to elect a government and a Taoiseach following the result of the general election. That is our duty. And Ceann Comhairle, you have given a clear commitment to work with all parties and none to resolve the issue of the technical groups. And I want to reiterate government's clear commitment to work with you and that process in order to resolve that, to ensure that we have a politically acceptable solution. The Dáil will resume on the 5th of February, and I want to ensure that we together can make sure that we have a functioning government up and running, elected on that date. And I would propose, Ceann Comhairle, that the whips meet for 30 minutes to see if we can find a resolution to that with your approval.
Is that agreed? Deputy, is that...
And 15 minutes to consult with our party, so 45 minutes.
The meeting would be 30 minutes, Ceann Comhairle, and then for parties
is that agreed?
To have 15 minutes.
We suspend the House for 45 minutes. Thank you.